Hello and welcome to Tullahoma Municipal Election coverage. I am one of your hosts, Kelly Lepchinsky. I am here with Jim Fuller from P Head Productions and The Link, so thank you for being here with us tonight.
Well, this is something I look forward to all year round, and it's been a couple of years actually since we've done this show. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting night tonight, and an exciting night as well for the citizens of Tullahoma, because they've been, at least a significant portion of them, have been looking forward to this for a few weeks.
Absolutely, and it feels a little bit like coming full circle, because now this is a board that we've seen every one of these people either elected in or appointed during our coverage. Starting in 2020, then the 2022 took about half the board. Now we're taking the other half of the board. So we're going to see from where we were in 2020 to where we are after tonight is a full change, but half the board is going away tonight. None of the incumbents are running. Mayor Ray Noah's not running. 3 aldermen not running to save their seats. So we're going to see some new people elected this evening.
And as I look at the candidates this time, and some of the things they've said, there seems to be a move to be a little more considerate among those potential candidates, and all of them are like that. I think all of them have mentioned that in there.
And I was going to say in the mailers, because I want to make absolutely sure we're not, this is not a matter of opinion. In the mailers that we got for each candidate, you can see words like civility and discourse and dignity. These are promises that are in print. They are not just coming from us.
So we can assume, I guess, from the candidates' opinions, that civility is key to this thing.
It may be from the candidates. Now, whether that's what voters are looking for, I know for a fact there's a large group of people that's going to be a big part of their vote.
Right.
But, that's not the only thing people vote for. There are certainly things that people want to see done in city government, and we'll see how that turns out when we see the results tonight.
Exactly. Which, by the way, will be coming in before too long, we hope.
We hope so, yeah. We should have precincts. The polls close right at 7 o'clock. I believe we went to air right about the same time, so it's going to take a little while before all those machines get closed down, they print off the results, and our poll runners, we're at 9 different precincts tonight. Now, there are voters in Coffee County and Franklin County. We had a lot of early voting. We had, in around Coffee County, 10% of the voters got out for early voting.
Right.
But in Tullahoma, that number was about 1,600?
I think so. 1686, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so we're going to hope that this time we get those early voting numbers early. You remember a couple of years ago, they were the last ones to come in and caused a big surprise.
Yes.
But we've got 7 districts in Tullahoma, and we've got 2 that are in Franklin County, voters that are just over the Franklin County line in parts of Tullahoma, I think around Prince Property, Wiseman Road, areas around there, actually go to Franklin County to vote.
Yeah, and that's kind of a different thing. We have to tell you about that every time, because used to, if you lived in Franklin County, and in the city limits of Tullahoma, you could still vote in Tullahoma at city stamps. But now, if you want to early vote, you've got to drive to Winchester to vote in the Tullahoma election. So that's a little bit different spin on things. And also, if you vote on election day, you've got to go to North Lake School, which is
North Lake is one of those. ATSI and North Lake are our 2 Franklin County districts that, in fact, P Head is covering the poll runners out there. Thank you for providing those.
Glad to do that.
Absolutely, We've got people out there at Grace Baptist, at Lions Club, at the rest of the, of course, CD Stamps, D.W. Wilson. Both of those are polling precincts this year. What we haven't mentioned, D.W. Wilson, I said that one. Grace Baptist. And Wesley Heights, that's one I didn't say. Yeah, so we've got people at all of those locations just waiting for those machines to close to get some results and send them back to our command center. A big tip of the hat to Chris Redicop, who's back in the command center when you do start to see some numbers on the screen. He's back in there keying those in furiously for us as soon as he gets them from the runners.
And I have to say that I haven't seen Chris, and both the last 3 or 4 times I've been here, because he's in the back really working. But he does a great job doing that.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
We really appreciate that.
And don't forget, when we mentioned early voting, we've got 2 election commissions to get those from as well, because of those 2 polling precincts that vote North Lake and UTSI. They also did early voting, like you said, at a Franklin County Election Commission polling place. So we will have the Coffee County Election Commission and the Franklin County Election Commission coming in for those early voting numbers when they do come in.
You know, we might also mention that we're not the official purveyor here of the vote totals. Our totals are sort of unofficial, when you say, Kelly.
They are unofficial anywhere you get them until late August, because until the Election Commission certifies them and puts their stamp of approval on them, nothing you hear is set in stone. Now, we do have a timeline for that this year. We know that the election results are going to be certified on August 12th. Now, as that happens, that is the same night as the next Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, the second Monday of the month. We're not going to see them installed that same day. That's just too quick a turnaround.
Right.
We will see them come in a couple weeks later on August 26th for that fourth Monday of the month BOMA meeting.
Right.
We expect that there'll be a welcoming reception for 3 new aldermen and a new mayor before that meeting on the 26th. Don't expect to see them on the 12th.
And while we're on that subject of unofficial totals, I will say that Kelly's absolutely right that we're not the official. The totals we give you are not official, but we've never been wrong yet. So
we are getting them straight off the machines.
Right.
But things can happen in transit.
Sure.
That's why they have to be certified. We saw it a couple years ago. It's a simple matter of missing a keystroke, and we could announce something that has to be corrected. We corrected it on air in time before calling anything, and it turned out to be right. But those things can happen and not be caught. So we are going to hedge our bets here and let you know we are going to be as accurate as humanly possible.
Yes.
But we're human.
But we are human. we are human. Okay.
All right. We're waiting for some more election results to come in. Well, the first election results to come in, but while we're waiting, we're going to take a little break, get a little sip of something to drink. We're already talking a lot, and we'll be right back after this.
Watch Tullahoma Wildcat football live on LightTube. The voices of Wildcat football, Scott Chastain and Ken Keller, can only be found on the LightTube Sports Network. With a new game every week, you can catch every moment live. If you cannot make it out to the stadium, tune in to LightTube Channel 23 and cheer on the Tullahoma Wildcats football team led by head coach Coy Sisk. Go Cats!
My name is JT Northcutt. I have sickle cell anemia trait, and several members of my family have sickle cell anemia disease. People with sickle cell disease have sickle cell shaped blood cells which cause less oxygen to flow through their body. This can make people tired and experience painful symptoms. Blood transfusions are critical. They may struggle to find matches that are genetically similar to them, so that is why it is so important to have a diverse blood supply, and we're asking for your help today.
When severe weather strikes, stay informed about power outages with TUA's new online outage map. Visit our webpage at tub.net and click the View Outage Map icon to see the number of customers affected and where they are. Use the bottom icons to find out the cause of the outage and how long it might take to restore power. You can even zoom in to see if the outage is in your neighborhood. Call 348-1795 to report an outage.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority now has a branch at 501 West Lincoln Street. The drive-through only branch located in the old Citizens Tri-County Bank will be open on utility and LightTube bill due dates and the day before and after a TUA observed holiday. Check a complete list of dates at tullahomautilities.com.
All right, welcome back to municipal election coverage right here in Tullahoma. We are only covering Tullahoma races, none of the county races here today, just aldermen and school board, and we have some early results from North Lake. Now, that is one of our Franklin County districts. We don't know how many registered voters there because the Franklin Election Commission doesn't release those numbers, but you can see they're relatively small. High for Lynn Seaborn there for mayor, 26 for Lynn Seaborn there. And here's some stuff we're going to want to talk about in a minute. Kurt Glick got 6, Petros Pasinos got 1, and Scott Chastain, who is not actually a viable candidate, got 3. But I believe a lot of voters aren't going to know that. They're going to recognize his name and they're going to vote for him. But he did pull out of the race before the withdrawal deadline, so his name stayed on the ballot. Looking over there at the alderman race, we see pretty close numbers. Zenobia McGee, oh nope, sorry, Bush Toma right there with a 25. I didn't see that first digit there. Bush Toma with 25 topping the vote getters there. 16 for Zenobia McGee, tied at 15. Both Matthew Bird and Franklin Kamek and John Santana pulling in at 12. On the school board, now we are just showing votes of confidence for these because both of these races are already determined. They were decided in the primary. School board votes of confidence, 29 for Kim Usselton and for Pat Welsh, 24 for Brock Compton, and then for the unexpired term, Rosie Graham pulled in 27 votes of confidence to fill what was originally Sid Hill's seat. When he resigned about a year ago, Beth Harrison, I think, was appointed to fill Sid Hill's position.
Right.
She ran in the primary against Rosie to try to earn that seat for herself, but Rosie actually won the seat in the primary. All 4 of those school board members already elected. They're going to move on, but these are votes of confidence.
You know, Kelly, and it appears to me that the turnout in that district there, we're talking about North Lake, which is in Franklin County.
Right.
I believe the last time we did a show like this, there were about 1,800 registered voters who lived in Tullahoma but were in Franklin County. And I don't think that's changed much. And you mentioned they don't release those numbers anymore.
Right.
But the last time we did this show, that was about 1,800. And so that's a pretty light turnout there.
It is. I don't think it's a great voting district, a large voting district for actually Tullahoma races, though. I think they have a lot more of those registered voters that vote in their county race, for the Franklin County race. How many of them actually cross the line over into Tullahoma? Clearly, the only ones we know are the ones who voted because, as we've both said.
But we see there, we see there that was a huge lead of the small number of votes that were cast there for Lynn Seaborn for mayor, and the alderman, another Butch Toma, had a pretty good lead there. But the rest of them are bunched all together.
Now, one thing I will notice too is that we don't have, under the mayor position, we don't have a spot for write-in votes. We do expect there's a possibility that we will see some, because even though there are 4 names on that mayor list and one of them is not a viable candidate, Scott Chastain has pulled out, there is a 4th candidate who has launched a write-in campaign. Carl Smithson, who has previously run for mayor in Tullahoma, decided he was going to launch his campaign after the application deadline. So there's a possibility we could later see some write-in votes under that mayor's total. But right now, what we're seeing right now is 26 for Lynn Seaborn is a large gap from the other people in that district of Franklin County.
Exactly. And not enough votes cast to really form an opinion yet. And we'd love to see the early voting for Coffee County, because that might actually give us an idea of where we're going tonight.
We tend to notice that when we get early voting, particularly for Coffee County, it tends to be sort of a predictor of how the rest of the precincts are going to go. We know, however, from 2020 that is not always the case, because we got the early voting last, and that was in the race between that year was Ray Noes and Daniel Berry.
Right.
And Daniel Berry led precinct after precinct after precinct. It looked like he had it. Early voting came in. They were close, but Daniel Berry led. And that early voting came in, and Ray's voters had come out so clearly in early voting that it flipped the whole election. It was the last thing.
And if I remember correctly, Ray Noes ended up winning that election by 400 or 500 votes.
Right. It was a pretty good clip there from early voting. But had that come first, we would have expected Ray Noes to lead precinct after precinct, and that's not what we would have seen had it gone that way. So we can't necessarily say early voting is going to tell you how the precincts go, but they do tend to mark where the election is going to go.
You know, in today's world, though, there's an awful lot of polling goes on, and
all right, here we go. Wilson Avenue, Church of Christ.
All right, and we see that in Wilson Avenue Church of Christ in Tullahoma. 111 votes for Lynn Seaborn, which is following the same trend that we saw in the previous poll. Kurt Glick with 28, Petros, I'm going to mess his name up, so I'll let Kelly tell you there in just a second, with 5, and Scott Chastain with 7 votes. Scott Chastain, as Kelly mentioned previously, withdrew from the race early on, and but he was still on the ballot, so he's getting a few votes there, even though he's not a candidate. And the school board, 120 complimentary votes for Brock Compton, and Kim Usselton with 123, and Pat Welch with 118. Now we're looking at the alderman candidates, and Bush Toma with 109, followed by Matthew Byrd with 83, Franklin Carmack with 71. Zenobia McGee has 73. Franklin Carmack has 71. And John Santana with 63. And again, Bush Toma leading there with 109 votes.
And I think that's what we saw at North Lake as well. Bush
Right.
Toma up in the higher numbers, Lynn Seaborn up in the higher numbers. The board of school and school boards are already determined. Now, I will say this, Wilson Avenue Church of Christ is not actually a polling place anymore. That church was sold. These voters voted at D.W. Wilson. So if you're wondering if these are your votes, and you voted at D.W. Wilson, yes, in fact, these are your votes.
Okay, good point there. good point there.
There's about 2,100 voters that are registered to vote at that precinct. So you can see turnout, not even 10% there, probably about 5% for D.W. Wilson there. But current totals, I'm looking at current totals and trying to do that math. Okay, Lynn Seaborn, 137, way out in the head. He's the only one in triple digits so far, but it's just 2 precincts heard from.
Right.
Bush Toma, same thing. He's in triple digits, but just 2 precincts heard from. And Matthew Byrd is right there at 98. He is on the verge of triple digits.
Right.
We do see triple digits, though, for people who didn't need votes at all.
Right.
We see 200 here and there, but they're not competing against each other. What you've got to take into mind there is that these are votes that are split. Somebody may have voted for Bush Toma and Franklin Kamek, or Bush Toma and Zenobia McGee, or Bush Toma and Matthew Byrd. And so there's 2 votes split between 2 people, whereas they
Right.
voted just for Brock, Kim, Pat.
You're looking at the current totals, by the way, right now.
Yes.
And big lead there for Lynn Seaborn.
Absolutely. In fact,
mayor.
I think that may have just changed on us, because we were looking at triple digits, but I don't think we saw that 251 when it
Yes.
first came up. It was 251 as it went down.
Right.
So, yeah, good time.
Bush Toma leading in Alderman. I'm not real surprised about that. He's been a businessman in Tullahoma for a long time, and
Well, he's been an insurance agent in this town for, I think, almost as long as, longer than I've lived in this town, and I have lived here for many years. But his insurance agency is in its 4th generation.
Right.
He was E.B. Toma and son. Son was Jack Toma. Mm-hmm. Jack Toma's son is Bush Toma, and then Bush's son, Jack, named after his grandfather, is now an adult and in the business. So E.B. Toma and Sons has been an insurance company here. I think Bush has probably been accredited since, I don't know, 1975.
something like that, a long time. And the sad thing for me personally is that I knew his daddy quite well. So anyway. But it looks like he's off to a great start in 2 precincts that we've seen here, and still a battle for those other 2 seats.
Absolutely, those are some really close numbers in there. If we can see those current totals again, let's take a look at. But they may be working on something over there. I'm not sure if they're ready to bring those up for us. But with Franklin Kamek, what do we got? With Franklin Kamek, Matthew Byrd, Zenobia McGee, and John Santana, the other 4 races in the alderman. I was going to take a look at how close their numbers are. I think they're working on that over there. So we've got some other votes we're waiting for. CD Stamps. Now, when we hear from CD Stamps tonight, we're going to hear from 2 precincts. 7-1, precinct 7-1, is going to be where most of the votes are coming in. But also voting at CD Stamps is a very, very small. Here come the current totals. A new precinct.
Nice.
All right,
Cedar
Cedar
Lane
Lane Church of Christ. This is one that also has 2 voting precincts, but 9-4 only votes in the county, and we're not covering county elections. So here's the mayor and alderman results for Cedar Lane Church of Christ. You see it once again. Great votes of confidence for the school board. 114 for Lynn Seaborn, and nobody else even breaks 40. Kurt Glick has a 33, Petros Pasinos has 16, and Scott Chastain, again, word did not get out that he was not actively in this race. He's got 12 votes for him at the Cedar Lane Church of Christ. Now, look how close it is for the alderman's race. Bush Toma well out ahead again, and right behind him, about 10 votes behind him, Matthew Bird.
North Lake has had an issue. We're going to get new numbers from North Lake.
Okay, I'm sure you guys could probably hear our producer Randy say that coming over our microphones, but just in case you didn't, there is an issue with the North Lake numbers that we reported earlier. We will be showing you new numbers in just a moment. Let's finish up with Cedar Lane Church of Christ here, though. So as I was saying, Bush Toma 104 leading the pack once again. He's been consistently doing that, and right behind him once again, fairly consistently, Matthew Bird at 93. But look how tight the rest of that pack is. John Santana has 88 here. I think that may be the first precinct we've seen him come in third. I haven't been following that very closely.
Correct on that.
Zenobia McGee at 82 is in fourth in this precinct, and Franklin Kamek is pulling up the caboose in this district at 72. But in most districts, these 3 in the middle there that's where our dog race is going to be, because only one, if we assume Matthew Bird continues to be right on the heels of Bush Toma, only one of those 3 in the middle of the list is going to get that third
that is
seat.
so close.
And they are very, very close.
Yes.
And it's still early yet. We have really only 2 confirmed precincts now that we're going to go back and revisit North Lake. I'm not counting North Lake. D.W. Wilson I am counting as good numbers with no issue. And right now, Cedar Lane Church of Christ, we are assuming, and there's 2,031 registered voters in this particular precinct.
Okay, we're looking at current totals now, and see Lynn Seaborn leading with 251, and followed by Kurt Glick with 67, Petros Pasinos with 22, and Scott Chastain with 22. Again, Scott is withdrawn from the race. School board, those are all assured of their seats, and here Bush Toma with a sizable lead at this point with 1,315 votes, followed by Matthew Bird with 947.
Actually, followed by Zenobia McGee.
Zenobia McGee with 1,049.
We'll switch back
that's
in just a minute. We'll come back to those because now we have corrected numbers from North Lake. Now, I'm not sure exactly what numbers changed because that looks pretty close to what we saw the first time.
Not significant change.
26 is for Lynn Seaborn. We had single digits for the other ones on our first go-round, but look how close. And this may be the Zenobia McGee in second there to Bush Toma in first. That may be where some numbers changed. I don't have, we only see them on the screen. We don't have them in front of us, but those are the numbers now. So now you do see where Bush Toma was in first, Zenobia McGee in second here, but by 1 vote over Matthew Bird and Franklin Kamek, who are tied.
Right.
So
Early voting.
We're good.
Okay, so then what we've got next here, we've got new votes
now
coming
this is
in.
something that's going to really tell us.
This is the one oh my goodness, look at those numbers. We have got quadruple digits early voting for Lynn Seaborn. Early voting numbers. This is less than 10% of registered voters in Tullahoma who even showed up and bothered to cast a vote. And Lynn Seaborn has 1,172 of those votes. The closest second place is hundreds and hundreds of votes behind. Kurt Glick still higher than the other 2 choices, 249, but that is just an impressive high number for Lynn Seaborn. Petros Pasinos at 69, Scott Chastain, who's not even in the race, with 71. Now on aldermen, we see what we have been seeing.
Yes.
1,077 votes for Bush Toma, and in second place. Now that we've corrected those North Lake numbers, that must be where something turned around, because look, Zenobia is in second again, 878 votes. And then we get tighter. Matthew Bird is in that third place at 756, And then in the 600s, both Franklin Kamek and John Santana. Franklin has a little bit of an edge there in the early voting with 654. Lots of good votes of confidence, but let's take a look at those totals if those are ready for us. And if they are not, just look at those votes of confidence. 1550 for Rosie Graham, who doesn't even need a vote of confidence. And then 1510 for Kim, 1476 for Pat, and even Brock Compton has a 1310. I mean, they're getting all over the board for votes they don't even need. But, there we go.
Look at that mayor's race there. It just, you just have to almost say Lynn Seaborn's going to be winner tonight.
I mean, we can't say that with all the precincts coming out, but we can say he's got more than 1,000 votes than the closest runner up.
There's 1,100 votes difference there.
Yeah, that's that's got to be a good vote of confidence. People must know Lynn Seaborn. You don't see that kind of lopsidedness, and that's a good sign that people know and trust Lynn Seaborn. 1423 for him. He's a longtime leader in the community. He's a Coffee County commissioner. He's the chairman of the TAEDC, and
lots of things. And he is one of those guys where you just don't find too many people that don't like him.
What I was actually kind of afraid of for him, though, was that on the ballot, his name is Charles Lynn Seaborn.
Yes.
And if you went in looking for Lynn, and you weren't, or you didn't think about it, you were just wanting to get that name recognition or had the name jump out on the ballot, you could have missed him. You had to go in remembering that you were looking for Lynn Seaborn because you were going to see familiar names. You were going to see Kurt Glick. You were going to see Scott Chastain, even though he's not in the race. Petros Pacinos might be a familiar name to you. You were going to see familiar names, but Charles Seaborn is not the way you're used to seeing him. So I thought that might actually have caused a little bit of difficulty. Of course, votes coming to Scott Chastain, you could also see would split some votes there as well. But he's right now got a runaway campaign going.
He certainly looks awful good right now. And again, if you do these elections a lot, is that's what we do. But you look at. Let's go ahead and give them those Lions Club.
All right, you want to go ahead and do those?
All right, this is Lions Club. Those totals look awful small to me to be the Lions Club because that's a big precinct, but we'll give them to you. Again, Lynn Seaborn leading the ticket there with 139, followed by Kurt Glick, Petros Pacinos with 9, and Scott Chastain with 7. School board, again, all of those seats are uncontested. And looking at aldermen, nothing much changed with Bush Toma leading the ticket there with 119 votes, followed in this precinct by Matthew Byrd with 101. John Santana does well here with 92. Franklin Kamek with 85, and Zenobia McGee with 82. So.
Now, as you mentioned, there are 18,033 voters who are registered in this precinct. But this
1,800, I think, right?
Yeah, 1,833.
Yeah.
And what we may be seeing here with the election day results looking like low numbers is probably not as much low turnout as it was early voting.
Yeah.
There were an awful lot of ballots cast in those early voting numbers. So we may be seeing that Lions Club showed up before election
there
day.
were 281 people voted early in that precinct. So.
Oh, okay. You've got that broken down by precinct. Good deal. Current totals, here we are. Well, it is looking good for Lynn Seaborn so far. It's going to be a high climb with what's left for Kurt Glick to mount a rematch. But he's in the hundreds. He's got 350 votes on his side right now. Petros Pacinos and Scott Chastain have not broken 100 yet. Of course, Scott's not really running, but you're probably not going to see either of those two catch up or be any part of the race to watch. Kurt Glick, we are going to keep an eye on. Plenty more districts to hear from, but 1536 does seem a little bit insurmountable right now, and congratulations will likely be coming out to Lynn Seaborn. Now, as we go to the alderman race, we've got 1409 for Bush Toma. That's a fairly strong lead there.
Yes,
Zenobia
it is.
McGee is not quite 300 behind, but there it is, 1,115 votes for Zenobia. And in the current totals, we see Matthew Byrd has taken the third spot so far. Again, more districts to hear from at 1033. So it's between Franklin Kamek and John Santana. Well, not really so much between them because there's only 3 spots to give.
That's right.
So right now, Franklin Kamek and John Santana are hoping to gain some ground as we move forward and look for results from others. Franklin County early voting. You want to take that one?
Not many early voted over there, but again, Lynn Seaborn and his quest for mayor leads that ticket with 89, followed by Kurt Glick, Petros Pacinos with 10, and Scott Chastain with 4. For the school board, again, they're all uncontested, so we'll go right to the alderman's race. In this precinct, we see Bush Toma, Matthew Byrd, both with 71 votes, followed by followed by Cernovia.
No, Cernovia is actually ahead at 72.
Yeah, right. So that's Cernovia's got 72. Yeah, thanks for correcting that. I've got them tied there with Matthew and Bush with 71 each, and Franklin Carmichael with 56. So it looks like finishing in the money from what we've seen so far is Bush Toma, Matthew Byrd, and Cernovia.
That is what it looks like so far. In fact, again, you see in Franklin County early voting, Lynn Seaborn taking a double-digit lead over his next competitor, and we see pretty close numbers. In the alderman race, they're just leaning a little bit heavier for those top 3, Bush, Toma, Cernovia McGee, and Matthew Byrd.
Right.
So far. Now, what do we got left to hear from? We've got left to hear from CD Stamps. Like I said, there will be 2 precincts reporting from there. 7-1 is actually voters who live in Tullahoma in that area of town, but there's 7-3 for, it's a very, very small district, but we will get some numbers from precinct 7-3, which are Tullahoma property owners who live in an adjacent county.
Yeah, that's something we have to talk
here.
about.
Exactly.
And we're looking at new numbers for the total for the precincts that we have so far now.
Wow. Okay, so 1625 for Lynn and just blowing his competitors right out of the water there. Just not much to report. 373 for Kurt Glick, the nearest competitor, and that is more than 1,000 votes behind. Now, when we go to the alderman race, we see 1480 for Bush Toma. He is maintaining that lead and actually stretching it a little bit further out. That doesn't matter. This isn't a pick 1, it's a pick 3. So the next 2 are Matthew Byrd and Cernovia McGee. Cernovia actually in second place there with 1187, and Matthew Byrd at 1104. Now both Franklin and John are back there in the 900s. They've got a little work to do in the remaining districts if they want to catch up. There's not much they can do about it now, though. The votes are in. We're just waiting to find out what they are.
That's right. Things are looking good for those 3 that you just mentioned there that are leading, that are finishing in the money, at least at this point. Cernovia with a 83 vote lead over Matthew Byrd, who is in 3rd place at this point. So we can probably, again, and I'm Lynn Seaborn with a huge lead there. And the last time we saw Kurt Glick run when he was elected to his alderman seat, he finished second behind Jerry Mathis in that particular race, about 200 votes behind Jerry Mathis, who led the ticket that night. So not doing quite so well tonight.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll dig into this a little bit more. For right now, we're going to have to take a little commercial break. We will come back, and hopefully we'll have some of those numbers we're still waiting on when we return.
All right.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority now has a branch at 501 West Lincoln Street. The drive-through only branch located in the old Citizens Tri-County Bank will be open on utility and LightTube bill due dates and the day before and after a TUA observed holiday. Check a complete list of dates at tullahomautilities.com.
This is your internet service at 10 meg speeds. This is internet service at gigabit. No other local provider can match this level of speed. Call us today to get the world's fastest internet.
Did you know that Tullahoma Utilities Authority has a solar farm right here in Tullahoma? For as little as $4 a month, you can support solar energy production and breathe a little easier, knowing you're taking positive action to reduce your carbon footprint. Call 455-4515 today.
Watch Tullahoma Wildcat football live on LightTube. The voices of Wildcat football, Scott Chastain and Ken Keller, can only be found on the LightTube Sports Network. With a new game every week, you can catch every moment live. If you cannot make it out to the stadium, tune in to LightTube Channel 23 and cheer on the Tullahoma Wildcats football team led by head coach Coy Sisk. Go Cats!
And welcome back to municipal election coverage here on LightTube. And if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you there. And wherever you watch P-Head Productions and The Link, we appreciate you watching us all across town as we cover these election results, which so far, it hasn't been much of a horse race. Certainly
No,
not
it certainly
for
hasn't.
the mayor's race. But we do have...
New precinct here. Got Grace Baptist coming in. Not much difference, at least in the mayor's race here, as we see Lynn Sebring with 258 votes, Kurt Glick with 52, and Petra Sinas with 20, and Scott Chastain with 13. And over here in the alderman's race, which is still probably to be decided, but Tullahoma probably looks like a winner in this particular precinct. 242 for Bush, as he's going to lead that ticket in the Grace Baptist precinct, followed by Matthew Bird with 175, and John Santana with 157, Zenobia McGee with 155, and Franklin Comack with 141.
And this is a fairly good, large voting district, I think you were telling us, this Grace Baptist.
Yeah, 2,660 registered voters in that precinct, and again, 511 of those voted early.
Okay. You've got the who voted early numbers. I love it. So what we're seeing now, if we can go back to those current totals, there you go. I just can't remember seeing numbers with this high, with this many precincts still to report. 1935.
Quite frankly, I don't think there's enough votes out there to change that.
I'm sure you're probably right, because CD Stamps, when we hear from them between precinct 7-1 and 7-3.
Numbers, they're just fixing to plug them in.
Okay, all right. That is from CD Stamps. Yeah. We do have them. They're not ready to be on the screen yet. But here's what we know: there's about 2,000. There's going to be more than 2,000 votes coming in from them. So if every one of those registered voters voted, yes, it could change the election.
Yes.
But it would have to be every registered voter.
Right.
And we haven't seen that kind of turnout here yet. We haven't even really seen 10% of any precinct. So mathematically, you may be right. This may be a done deal, but we have
I think it certainly is for mayor.
Yeah.
And really, the trend is pretty secure for the top three that we've been reporting already. So.
Yeah, I would say Tullahoma got a really good mathematical shot there too, but
yes.
It's he's got about not quite 400. I'm just rounding up. Matthew Bird's going to get on my case because I can't do the math off the top of my head. I saw him do that in that debate, and sorry, I can't do that. But Tullahoma 1764 is in the lead there. Zenobia McGee is our number 2 spot at 1392, and then Matthew Bird 1327 in that 3rd spot. Franklin and John are both there in the 1100s. There's still some room.
They're a couple hundred votes behind.
Yeah, I mean I don't say it's a done deal between those two and the other two, Matthew Bird and Zenobia McGee, because you don't know what can happen. But I don't see any of them catching, and the current totals just changed, but we have not seen CD Stamps yet. So we saw them briefly flash.
Is that the only one we have left, Kelly?
I don't think so. We haven't seen Lions Club.
Okay.
So CD Stamps 7-1, this is where we're going to see the most voters for CD Stamps voters. And Lynn Sebring 103, well out ahead. I mean, nobody else even broke 20 for the mayor's race, I think it's almost safe to call. Well, it's probably very safe to call that. I'm just hesitant to do so until we've seen everything. Bush-Toma 72 is not the leader this time, though. Matthew Bird is.
Matthew
In fact,
Bird
he's
is.
not even in second. Zenobia McGee is.
Right.
So Matthew Bird 83, Franklin Kamek 44, Zenobia 79, John at 47, and Bush-Toma at 74. Now, you did see some math there that could mush around
Yeah, right.
which order the top three are in, but it didn't seem to change
No.
the top three.
No.
And what order they're in doesn't matter. A seat is a seat. We are looking right now at Bush-Toma, Zenobia McGee, and Matthew Bird likely having the top numbers when we get back to those current totals. But we've got another CD Stamps precinct being keyed in as we speak. Now, this is the one we were talking about earlier. There's only 77 registered voters in Precinct 7-3.
Right.
These are people who own property here and don't necessarily live in Tullahoma, but live close enough. I don't understand that loophole. I don't know the loophole. All I know is that it exists. They're allowed to vote, and they do.
And it hadn't always existed like that. It came into being, I think, 6-7 years ago or something like that. And so, yes, if you own property, and
I didn't think that was a long stand. I didn't know when it came about.
And there may be a minimum value that you have the property has to be worth, but I'm not sure. But
and here it is. Like I said, these were going to be small numbers, and they are. Of the 77 possible voters, I mean, at most we've seen 4, and the 4s went to John Santana here, Bush-Toma, and Matthew Bird for alderman. Right. Franklin Kamek got 2, and from outside of Tullahoma, Zenobia didn't catch a thing. Now, she didn't campaign very hard either, so if you don't actually live in Tullahoma, that name might not mean anything to you. For the mayor's race, Lynn Seaborn got 3 and Kurt Glick got 2, but Petros and Scott didn't pull any votes from this very, very small district.
Right.
And we even see some small votes of support for our school board members who are surely going to get...
What a night for Zenobia. You know, she served the unexpired term of someone I remember on the board.
She did.
And go ahead.
Oh, you know what? They want us to take a break, so we will talk about where Zenobia fit in when we come back right after this.
All right.
My name is JT Northcutt. I have sickle cell anemia trait, and several members of my family have sickle cell anemia disease. People with sickle cell disease have sickle cell shaped blood cells which cause less oxygen to flow through their body. This can make people tired and experience painful symptoms. Blood transfusions are critical. They may struggle to find matches that are genetically similar to them. So that is why it is so important to have a diverse blood supply. And we're asking for your help today.
When severe weather strikes, stay informed about power outages with TUA's new online outage map. Visit our webpage at tub.net and click the View Outage Map icon to see the number of customers affected and where they are. Use the bottom icons to find out the cause of the outage and how long it might take to restore power. You can even zoom in to see if the outage is in your neighborhood. Call 348-1795 to report an outage.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority now has a branch at 501 West Lincoln Street. The drive-through only branch located in the old Citizens Tri-County Bank will be open on utility and LightTube bill due dates and the day before and after a TUA observed holiday. Check a complete list of dates at tullahomautilities.com.
All right, we are back. Now, we do want to get back to what Jim was talking about with Zenobia McGee and how that worked, but we have some numbers we're pretty sure we haven't reported to you before. Wesley Heights Methodist Church. They had them keyed in, but we don't think we've seen them on the screen, so we'll know that. They may have already been in the totals, is what I'm trying to say to you here. These may already be added into totals we have reported to you, but here's what the precinct looked like. This was Wesley Heights. It's District 7-2. And Lynn Seaborn, 52 is the total there. Petros Pacinos got a nice second place in Wesley Heights District. He got 10 votes to Kurt Glick's 9 and Scott Chastain's 7. Also in this district, we do see Zenobia McGee taking the lead at 50 votes. Right behind her, Matthew Bird at 48. And then 42 is Bush Toma. So the same top three we've been seeing. John Santana, 26, Franklin Kamek, 23, and those votes of confidence for the school board. Now, with those reported, as I said, we may not see the totals change. Those may have already been factored in. We'll go back and look at those totals in a second and see if anything has changed there. But I think we are only waiting on one more precinct. If we've gotten both the early votes, which I think we have, UTSI, which is another very small precinct. Yeah, they're not going to see a lot of numbers there, so it's not really going to change much for what we're seeing here. I don't think it can affect any of these numbers. Is anything close enough that such a small district could change it?
I don't think so. And certainly not mayor. And,
so we can't call it, and remember, we're not official until certified, but UTSI certainly can't change mayor. There's nothing they can do to make that 2,041 for Lynn Seaborn any lower, or those votes for Kurt Glick high enough to catch him. So there you are, Lynn Seaborn, we are fairly confident we can call, will be Tullahoma's next mayor. As far as aldermen go, now...
Well, you're looking at the totals there. There's probably not enough votes out there to change much.
I don't think so, but again, UTSI voting district is on the Franklin County side, so we don't have those numbers of how many registered voters there are that vote in that precinct. It is very unlikely. From our previous coverage of UTSI, I don't remember those being big numbers. I don't think they're big numbers. I certainly don't think that there are 300 votes sitting out there waiting to bring John Santana or Franklin County. I don't think either one of those
Bush
two are.
Bush Toma is certainly going to lead that ticket, and he's going to win his seat with 1,840 votes. And, Zenobia is ahead of the nearest of the other two by some 300 votes and 20 votes.
Yes, Zenobia has 1471, Matthew Bird 1414. So those two are clearly your second tier right after Bush Toma, and then the other two, Franklin and John, they're in the 1100s. There are not enough votes in UTSI to really change anything but the order of 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 are still going to stay 1, 2, and 3, which means Bush Toma and Zenobia McGee, make sure I say the right people, and Matthew Bird are very, very likely, almost 100% guaranteed to be our next Tullahoma alderman. We'd still like to see those UTSI numbers come in before we say we call it, and even if we call it, as I say, that's not official until it's certified. Now, we were going back and talking about Zenobia McGee and how she got into a position, and I expected to talk a lot more about this tonight because I thought this might be something we had to bring up with Kurt Glick.
Right.
Because what happened with Zenobia McGee is that Ray Noes was a sitting alderman. And he ran for mayor, much like Kurt Glick is doing now. And Ray Noes won, which left his unexpired term on the board vacant. Someone had to fill it, and Zenobia McGee was the one appointed to and voted by the board to fill Ray Noes' spot.
I might add, in my view, a lot of times in what was a really contentious board, she was the voice of reason a lot of times.
Certainly was,
and so it's nice to see her come back now and win a full term on
Absolutely, absolutely, getting elected to this position. And I really thought we were going to have to discuss a little bit more that that's what would have happened had Kurt Glick had the numbers. Lynn Seaborn just had a runaway election.
He certainly did. And speaking of Kurt Glick, Kurt will remain on the board. He will remain on the board as an alderman. So
he certainly will. Kurt Glick and Bobby Wilson still on the board, and Jerry Mathis still on the board. Those three that we named, assuming that those numbers don't change, and we don't think mathematically that they can.
Yes,
Bush Toma, Matthew Bird, and Zenobia McGee will be joining those other three on the dais with Lynn Seaborn at the helm.
Right. So, we think we're almost done. But
I think we may be having UTSI come in as we speak. Or no, I'm sorry, we're getting a little North Lake. We're seeing again. Has there been a change in the North Lake numbers? Okay, so North Lake seems to be having an interesting bit of reporting tonight. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We can just tell you that, yes, the numbers do look... what probably happened is when we saw them the last time and we said they didn't look different, they probably weren't. This is probably what the change should have been.
But I think what happened here is Lynn Seaborn's lead is even bigger.
Absolutely. But when we said they didn't look different last time, they probably weren't. This is what you should have seen the last time we went to North Lake. It doesn't change anything. These are exactly the standings we have seen before. it's a little sad for John Santana in that he is in the second and third. He's in the third place in North Lake on this particular
Just a word
district.
about John Santana, though, and I've met him a few times, and during the course of the election, seen him on television a lot. He's only lived here about a year and a half, but that young man's pretty sharp. If he wants to continue to be involved in politics, I'm sure he's going to get a win sooner or later.
Oh, I'm sure that he'll end up on some city board, or he'll fill out a citizen participation form.
Same for Franklin Kamak.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's been Teacher of the Year a few times already.
Absolutely. West Middle.
Very smart guy. And
FBLA, he's a trivia host across town. A lot of people know Franklin.
Yeah.
So, you feel bad about the ones who didn't make it tonight, but you got to say, when you watched the political forums, when you watch these alderman candidates together in any public space,
right,
civility and dignity, we started off talking about that, and that we really saw that in all of those candidates, and we'll see it tonight. I'm sure we'll see it as they talk to each other and congratulate each other and continue to work for the city beyond this election.
Absolutely. This is UTSI finally. Okay.
We told you they were small numbers.
We told you they were small. I didn't think they'd be this small. Lynn Seaborn winning there, however, with 6 votes, 1 vote for Petro Pisnos, and 1 vote for Scott Chastain. Kirk Glick did not get any votes there. And so over here in the Alderman's race here, we see Matthew Byrd leading there with 7. Kamak and McGee with 6 each, and Tullahoma with 4. John Santana had 1, so not many votes cast in the UTSI.
All right.
Precinct.
Well, that then is every precinct heard from. We've seen those. We've got what we now are calling final totals with absolute. There's no doubt that you can't even certify anything different than that. Lynn Seaborn has run away with this night. There's no way anybody has made that big a mistake. 2,119. That's a significant lead. Congratulations to our incoming mayor, Lynn Seaborn, and thank you very much to our outgoing mayor, Ray Noas, for your service to Tullahoma. Our outgoing aldermen this time are going to be Daniel Berry, Jenna Amacher, and Derek Mann. Thank you for your service to Tullahoma, and welcome to Bush Toma and Matthew Byrd and Cernobia McGee. Those are your new Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Put them all together with who's remaining, and that's our coverage for tonight.
Yes.
Again, those results will be certified on the 12th, which is the date of the next Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, so don't expect to see these people on the dais on the 12th. You will see them inducted, welcomed, and seated on the 26th, the 4th Monday of the month.
And again, you might mention the nice folks who assisted us tonight that were not on camera.
Absolutely, and a special note to producer Chris Barstad. When we had some of those numbers coming around, this is his first time producing an election night. It went fairly flawlessly. He does have over-the-shoulder assistant from our longtime producer, Randy Brewer, who this will be his last election coverage.
I hate to hear that, but as I look over there, I see Randy's looking a little grayer than he used to.
But he is smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Right.
And thank you to all of our poll runners. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who went out and voted. And thank you to those who are about to serve. We are done serving tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. We will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
I was stuttering so much because